Hello, Powermetrix Nation. I've been on the road for a little over 5 weeks. I hadn't been in here for a while. That's why we put them in the can ahead of time, and that's why we're going to get a couple done this morning here. So I hadn't seen JP in a while. So hello, JP.
Hello, John.
So we're going to try and get a few of them in the can today. I out there on the road a lot. I tend to do probably too much thinking, but I do a lot of thinking and talk to a lot of folks when I'm out there on the weekends and everything when I'm not back home. So I usually talk by phone to a lot of folks when I stay out that long. So just in talking with a lot of folks, it's funny this time of year. It's Christmas and there's a lot of good stuff, but also we find that psychologists, people tell us that, and just other folks, counselors and that, this is kind of a rough time of year for a lot of folks too. And so it struck me, I was just going to talk a little bit about something that I was reading and studying when I was out there on the road. And that is, you've heard it a bazillion times probably, it's in Isaiah, which is amazing to think that all of these things in our Bible, you have all these prophecies from hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years ago that came true, which makes it pretty easy for me to believe and have faith in it, my pea brain. But I just want to read this little part right here. It's in Isaiah 9. It says, "For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government will be upon his shoulder. And his name will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace." When times are rough and you got a lot of things going on, I'm talking to people these days and they feel like a lot of betrayal feeling or letting down or got to watch your back all the time. And, between what we see on the news, which I don't watch it anymore, I can't. But I have people telling me they feel like the government's letting them down and the companies and friends and also betrayal, just all that sort of stuff. And for whatever reason, we're a little bit more tense this time of year, worried to make sure we're going to make everybody happy with their gifts and the travel and everything else we're worrying about. I just think it's pretty amazing that long ago that we were given those promises and that he's the wonderful counselor, mighty God, everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. And I know if I think about those first things, wonderful counselor, mighty God, everlasting Father, to think of what an incredible counselor he can be to me because he knows me better than I know myself. It tells me that in Jeremiah. It says, "The heart is deceitful above all else, but is desperately wicked. Who can understand it? I, the Lord, search the heart. I test the mind, even to give to man each according to his ways, according to the results of his deeds." So God knows our hearts even better than we know our own hearts. So you can't get a better counselor than that. Mighty God, absolutely, creator of all things. And then that everlasting Father, to know that relationship and think of how important my relationships are in my life and to think that that relationship's been going on forever, the Trinity. And then if I think about those things and I think what an incredible counselor he can be to me and has been to me and the things that he's gotten through in my life that I should have never gotten through. And he's gotten me through it and I should be dead many times over. My recent call and stuff that I just had out there. And just stuff that happens all the time in my life. And think of it would take a mighty God to create this world. It also takes everlasting Father and someone I can put my faith in, knowing that I have eternity looking forward to. And an everlasting God is one that I can put my faith in and knowing what he's gotten me through in my life. Just all of that adds up to, I can think of him also as Prince of Peace and giving me peace in my life. So I would just throw that out to everyone that considering everything that he is to us, which is everything, that it can give us peace in the midst of a lot of crazy times between the travel and the news and everything else that's going on right now, that it can actually give us peace. And so I'm going to open up with a prayer real quick, and then we'll go through our stuff and talk about this site we've got coming up, which has got some really interesting things in it. It's going to amuse y'all. We used a little snippet of it in some training I was just in, and they got a kick out of it. So we got some good stuff coming. But I'm going to go ahead and pray to that Prince of Peace right now. All right? Heavenly Father, thank you so much for Jesus, for what Jesus did for all of us, every single one of us, whether it's someone that hates him or loves him, because he loved us all, or he wouldn't have done what he did. And Father, just thank you so much for that incredible Son of yours and him dying on that cross. And we're about to celebrate his birth. And He can really give us peace. Having the faith in Him, knowing He is an everlasting God. And that's what we're in. We're in for the long game. We're in for that whole eternity thing. And then, Father, also knowing how mighty He must be to change lives, to take people and change their entire lives through their hearts, so that now they live an entirely different life and put their faith in eternity and faith in You. And then, Father, what a wonderful counselor we have in Your Son and the guide that You left with us, the Comforter, the Holy Spirit, to guide our words and our actions. Because in the midst of all this craziness going on, Father, I know in the middle of everything Jesus was telling us in Luke, right in the middle of it, in that verse 13, He says, and these things will give you opportunities for your testimony. So it's a chance to show who we are, who we believe in the midst of chaotic times. And Father, I believe in You. And thank You so much for what Your Son did. Without what He did, I couldn't even pray right now. So all of these things, the people getting home safe to their families in the holidays, the people traveling in the holidays, all those awesome people that I've been working with the last 5 weeks and gotten to hear their stories, all of those people and just everyone out there, Father, I hope that they will turn their eyes to You, because all of these things I ask and say according to the one who paid it all and whose birth we're about to celebrate, Jesus Christ. Amen. Cool. All right. So, 2021 webinar number 32. Wow. So today we're going to do the 4S with the Padmount transformer part 1. JP's telling me to schedule 21st. We're going to do part 2 of this one. And then the 28th, we're going to take Christmas and New Year's off and then start back in. We will finish up this 4S Padmount on January 11th. Okay, so we will have 2 in a row there, today and the 21st, and then we will take 2 weeks off, it looks like, and then we'll conclude it on the 11th. That right, JP?
That's right.
Cool. So first of all, we're going over some news and notes, and then we'll go over the using the universal key, and we'll do site inspection, meter connection, using a socket adapter. We're going to use a meter socket adapter on this one because this is a single phase, so it doesn't have, it's a 4S, so it doesn't have a test switch there. So we're going to go ahead and use one of our meter adapters so we can use a test switch with it. What else we got here? I guess that's about it. Ready to roll, huh? Man, it's been so long. Doesn't take me long to get out of the swing of things. So we'll go ahead and start into it. Then we will make a couple of stops, as I always do, and we'll talk a little bit about it. But this is a 4S meter. I'll tell you a couple things about it real quick. You know, when I think of a 4S, I just think of a jacked up 2S meter. So I remember all the great big huge houses out there outside of Nashville I went to. So they're going to have 4S's because they're large enough that they need transformers on them. Okay, but it's just like a 2S meter, but we've used a transformer, so it's like a transformer rated 2S meter. Is kind of the way I look at it. Okay. So here we've got, so when you think about that, you got 2, if you look at it. Oh, can you see over here? We good? Your 4S meter, right? I've got, usually you'll see it'll say 1 voltage and 2 currents, right, is what it says on there. Now you'll notice that I've got 2, I've make 2 connections. I'll use the alligator clips here in a minute, and I'll stop it. Then I'm going to use the alligator clips, and I will actually connect on A phase, and then I will actually connect on B phase. Then I'll have my 2 duct bills over here, my A and my B phase duct bills, okay? And these are going to be my alligator clips here. But what happens is I'm using it as a reference, okay? I'm using B phase as a reference. And we always say, and we've said it in a lot of the other previous webinars, you can always tell that when you look on any of your vectors and you see VAB, you see a second letter there. When I see a second letter there, what am I doing? I'm using phase as a reference. So I'm using B phase as a reference, okay? But if you hit connect view, and I was just showing these guys this out in the field, if you hit connect view though, it'll show you that you're gonna make that connection on B phase, all right? You will connect your B phase alligator clip. It's just that on the inside, the meter is going to work it out, so it's going to use B phase as a reference. So on your vectors, you won't see the B phase voltage, okay? You'll just see A phase voltage, and you'll see B and C phase currents. So, and you'll see that here coming up. But just keep that in mind, that it's just like on your 2S, I'm using B as a reference, okay? So we will go ahead and get this bad boy started, and we'll just jump in every once in a while and say something. Roll it. Okay, so we're here at the Padmount here for this last site in the, what do we call this thing? The
Real World Training Series.
Real World Training Series. So we're here at this last one, and we're going to get in here and, well, looks like we've got some lock issues. So this is the correct key, but it is not working. We've got a jimmied up lock. So we do have a universal key that we can always use. So we'll have Jonathan come in here and use the universal key, which I'm sure some of you have used in the past. Can you get up on there good?
Come on.
All right. Yep. I believe that dog will hunt. So now we're in there. So I know all of you have had to deal with that between either corrosion, lost keys, different things like that. You just can't get up in there, and you can see that it's pretty jimmied up. The lock is right there, so we couldn't get it in there. So we were able to use the universal key opener and get up inside there. So maybe into this series, maybe there's really no excuses for it. I know that probably before I even got up there, I should have been wearing my gloves before I even pointed out or was trying to mess with the lock and stuff. So I apologize for that. That if I'm going to get around that Padmount and start messing with it, I should have had my gloves on. So I should have my gloves on to do that. A little tear in my eye because this is the last of the Real World series that that JP and I and Jonathan and Brylan have been working on. But so the last one, we have a Padmount 4S here that we believe, but we're going to check it out ourselves and look at it and see if that's what we're dealing with here. And so what we have is, this is we're going to look at it and see that it is a 4S meter. This is actually the last, this is the last 4S Padmount meter that this utility installed, as a matter of fact. They always went with meter cans after this, so excuse me, CT cans. So instead of having to get to it, because you'll see here in a minute, on part 2 you'll see it, inside the transformer. Unbelievably tight to get up in there. So now they have a CT can with any of these single phases like this. And this is for pedestals for RVs, and there were no RVs there, and also a trailer that they had out there that could be energized. So none of this was energized. So, but like I said, this is the last one of these Padmount single phase they got, because now they always do CT cabinets because it can get awful busy and crowded in there, which you'll see in part 2. We've been told there's not much load here, so we're going to get to also perform a load boost test. But we're going to always start at the beginning and do a little inspection of the site. The Padmount here, it's interesting in that I can see my pad on 3 of the sides. I can't see it over here. It's very grown up over here on this side, and it's dirt all the way up to it and grass, so I can't see this side. But I don't see anything. I don't smell anything. I don't smell any oil, which is good. I don't see any big ant hills here, but would tell me something might be inside there, a bunch of ants. So doesn't look like that. That's not ants, it's just dirt. And I come over here to the pedestal, and the conduit looks okay. It's still attached right there. And my can's on there good, so I don't see anything there. You see anything, Jonathan?
No, that looks pretty good. A little messy around it, but
yeah, a little messy. It's in a tight spot right here, but this is real world, right? So so no, I don't see anything here. So what we'll go ahead and do is we'll crack open the and just look in this can real quick and see if there's anything inside the can to do our inspection with the cover off of here. So Jonathan's going to pop it, pop the seal and get up inside there and see what we got. And if you'll notice, and I haven't pointed this out enough because it is a tool that we use, we're looking right there and you're not seeing any movement right here, right, Jonathan?
right.
We're not seeing any movement, which would be indicative of no load. So this is, from what we've been told, that so far seems to be true, which is that we don't have a load here, so we're probably going to have to do a load boost. And then remember, this differentiates us on which of the meter test we're going to do. So we're going to have to do a phantom load test on this one. Since we don't have any load, we can't do the customer load test. So we're going to do the load box with the test kit, and we're going to perform a phantom load test on it. And so we'll do that. We'll use the load box to supply the current. So looking here, I don't see anything crazy in the can. It's actually real clean.
It's really clean.
Yeah, it's real clean, so the can looks fine. So we will we'll go ahead and then we'll get set up, and we'll come back on here in just a second after we get set up, and we'll run a phantom load test on the meter. So you can see here we're using a 7 series here, so you'll notice it's you got a little bit more of the voltage connections over here than you do a 3 series. When it comes to the installations that don't have a test switch on them, you know, if you can, we prefer to use them because it makes it a lot easier to use those duck bills, and it's a lot easier to make our connections. So Jonathan's going to go ahead and remove this 4S meter and put in one of these meter adapters. And we'll talk about it in a second. Once he gets it in there, we'll talk about some of the rules he uses when he's putting it in there. So before you put it in, don't you open all those switches up?
Yeah, I make sure, especially that I've got the shunts in. That way, these plungers right here, they're going to go up and they're going to open up those CTs. If I didn't open my shunts up, we would have open CTs, and you don't ever want to open CTs.
No bueno.
I go ahead and open up the voltage blades as well.
That's right.
Just so there's nothing going up through there while I'm hooking up.
You cannot be too safe when you're dealing with electricity. Okay, we're not baking cookies. You've heard me say it a million times on all the webinars we shoot from Knox Vegas. So he opens everything up for safety, and then that way when he puts it in there, notice he removes the meter first, and then that way he can shove on the outside of that that meter adapter, and he gets some good leverage, puts it in. He makes sure it bottoms out. Okay, you always want to make sure you bottom it out. And then also, then he's going to come in behind, he's going to put the meter in after that. And once again, you're lining up all your stabs, and you want to make sure, again, you bottom it out all the way. Look for gaps top and bottom, right, Jonathan? You don't want it in there cockeyed, so you look for if it's got a big gap at the top and not at the bottom, or vice versa, you know it's not in there straight, right? So make sure it's even in there. You have the same gap top and bottom, but you want it as flush as possible in there, right? So you want to get in there as flush as possible. Also, the nature of these things adds kind of a cantilever action to them, doesn't it? If you start shoving on duck bills and stuff at the bottom, if you think about it, you're shoving down here, it wants to pop it out to come out of the socket right there. So there's some tricks you can do. Some folks press on the meter right there to push in the duck bills, and then Jonathan's is he grabs and pulls at the bottom before he puts it in there, right?
So if you just go and start pushing,
oh,
starts tilting,
see that?
wants to come out of there.
It does.
So, like you said, some people will hold it up here. I like to just kind of
there you go,
hands in behind it.
But do one or the other, because you are creating a cantilever action. It's just physics, folks. So you're gonna want to cock and pull on that meter and try and pull it out of there. And if it's in there pretty loose, I mean, you can start pulling it out of there, and that is no bueno as well. So we're going to he pulls on it, so he makes sure that he doesn't do the cantilever action, and he gets his duck bills put in there, and then he makes his connections with his voltages here. And these tabs have holes in them, right, Jonathan?
Right.
So you have a place for, remember, we've got our teeth on the end of those alligator clips that can grab into that hole on there, and then it gives you a good hold, and you can tell because if you try and pull on them, they're in there very securely. If you didn't, in cases where you have just a short stub, old style test switch in there, that's when you might want to get on the blades and work them back and forth a little bit, and always try and work and coin a little bit on those surfaces to make a good connection. Because remember, those teeth are the ones that get broken off, right? Fellas grab on them and pull them before they open them up even. They get in a hurry and they break those little teeth off the end of it. So if you have that in the case where you don't have those teeth, or in the case where you've got just some of those short, thick, with no holes in them, tabs on the end of the top and bottom, I would go on the blades and I would work them back and forth a little bit and coin those surfaces and make a good contact, okay? In this case, we got the holes. We always check our alligator clips beforehand and make sure we still got the teeth on the end. So he's just gone in the end and grabbed those holes on the tabs. Okay, so now I've, that whole thing about old dogs learning new tricks, I've learned some tricks, and I'm an old dog. So there are some things that I do differently now. One thing I will say, when I first walk up to a meter now, especially transform rated meters, I just go ahead and put my easy hooks on there. I put my easy hooks on before I put anything in, before I put in my duck bills, before I connect up my alligator clips or anything. I come over onto the return side, and I just come in the bottom, and I just come in from the bottom, and I'm going to talk about that here in a minute here, but I come in the bottom and I connect them pre-test. Because let's say I lose if I lose all of my load there, what happens is, let's say I'm out at a sewer lift station, and the grinder's going, I got the nice sweet smell going, and everything's cranking, and I got load there, and then all of a sudden, right when I get ready to test, everything goes off. Now I'm sitting there waiting for a big fart sound so that everything will get cranked back up again, the grinder to get going again, the sweet smell to start back up. In the meantime, I got nothing. If I hook those up pre-test and then I lose it, I can always just connect up there. The other thing that it does, remember, if I connect at the bottom, okay, if I connect at the bottom first, those are going to my returns, okay? Those going to my returns, that's a safe path. I also think it's safer to do it that way. If you come in the bottom of those return blades, those are the long swing with the place to put your duck bill in. It's got the little cross pattern. Or as John Bullock says, you know, you got the one over there with the arm across there. He says it kind of looks like praying hands. You go into church first to pray, right? But then when the ladies, and this is his deal, when you come out of there, those four kind of look like, when the ladies get home, they take their hairpins out. However you want to look at it, but I just know one thing. It comes in the shunt, up through the meter, and then back through the return, okay? Well, if that long blade there, where I've got that return blade, so that's my return coming back, has got a place that's the long stroke blade with a place to put a duck bill in, if I come right at the bottom of that blade and connect them and just let them hang. Don't connect them at the top, just have them connected. If I do need them, now I connect up at the top. Remember, I'm already connected to the bottom, my safe return path. So if I get up there and connect incorrectly at the top, I've got a safe path going back. If I connect at the top first with my easy hooks, now I'm connected on the hot side. That goes right into the meter side. If I grab that and everything's closed and I start reaching around down there, I can get in much more trouble than I can if I connect at the bottom first on my return. So now when I walk up, that's the first thing I do is connect my easy hooks and just let them hang. If I need them, fine. If I don't, I don't. Other thing is I'm definitely on my blades, on my voltages. I get on the blades and I work them a little bit. But what I do now is I open up I connect those returns, right? I easy hooks at the bottom of the returns first. Make those connections. That's when I'm connecting to my test switch, that's the first thing I do. Next thing I do is I open up my shunts. Then I open up, once I've determined what's what, and those are the ones got the piece across there because they shunt. It comes in from the CT, shunt straight across, goes right back to the return. It never goes to the top half above the test switch to the meter anymore. I've shunted the current before it goes above that test switch now. I shunt it right back to my return. I determine which ones are those. I open up my shunt blades. I've already got my easy hooks on. I open up my shunt blades, open up my return blades, and I put in my duck bills first. Then I close in my shunts. Now, remember, with that opened up all the way and my duck bills in there, it's much harder to get those easy hooks in after the fact. They're already in there in case I need them. If I don't need them, fine. It takes 2 seconds to put them on and take them off before and after the test. Then I put my alligator clips from my voltages on, get in there really good, and I coin the surfaces. When I put in my duck bills, I always work them back and forth a little bit. Do not pry on them. I have folks that they have to get their duck bills repaired or even replaced sometimes. They don't like that. Most of it's a repair, but then they're upset about it. You know why? Because probably the tech has not opened up the switches far enough to get good clearance when he goes in with his duck bill, and when it catches on him, what's the first thing he does? And gets it in there. That look at how those plastic pieces are connected to that duck bill. It's a little bitty screw head on that plastic. You pry on them very many times, you're going to bust that little tiny little screw head through that plastic. Now you got to get them repaired. Okay, so don't pry on them this way. This way all day long. Do not use them as a pry bar, all right? Open up your switch all the way and it'll go in there just fine, all right? Cool. Thanks, JP.
Got all hooked up, and we already know there's no load on the site just from what we've been told and what we've been able to see on the display.
Exactly.
Went ahead and brought up the vectors. I made sure to close it.
So look at how much we've got here. 0.053 secondary current, 0.009 secondary current. That is way, way, way low. But you've heard me say there's a difference between that and zeros. Okay, all zeros, and we'll talk about. I think I'll talk about it on this here in a second. But you can see here when it's that low and my worm is not moving, then I know what I've got. Two tests I can do on a meter: a customer load test or a phantom load. I already know I'm probably going to need to do a phantom load, and I already know I'm going to have issues trying to test that CT, right? So I already know I'm going to have the issues with the CT for sure. The load's way below that 0.5 mark. And then I've also got, I know I'm going to have issues, so I'm probably going to need to do a phantom load test as well. So I'm kind of already geared up in my head, phantom load test, and I got to figure out something to do with those CTs, okay?
So we can actually verify that there is no load. See, we've got 0.0 secondary current on A, 0.00 on B, so we know we don't have any load. We're going to be driving current on this thing.
And actually, if you're out there testing, it's just kind of a little sidebar, folks, but it's really important. If you see 0 on the secondary amps, that's either literally nothing or maybe a disconnect situation. So if you're out there testing in the field and you look and you see 0 on the secondary current, you've got to break somewhere because you'll get something will bleed through there. But in this case, you can tell this is dead. We've got 0 on the secondary as far as the amps are going. So we know now that we're going to have to perform a phantom load test on the meter because we don't have a load, and we're going to have to load boost those CTs to be able to test them. So that's what we're going to do at this site. We're going to do a phantom load on the meter, and we're going to do a load boost test on the CTs because we know we're going to have to drive some current through those CTs because right now there's 0. So when he's placing these, these are the jumpers. You use these jumpers. Can I see what you're saying? The jumper right here, see, it's a hook, right? You can see it's a hook on there, and this goes through those holes in the tabs. Now here is my recommendation for you. When you're in the field and you're connecting at the bottom, I would say come in with your hook this way. If you come in this way with the hook, what happens is when you get ready to take it off of there and you got your gloves and everything on, if I have it this way, I'm trying to get it up there and it tends to hang up and get caught on things. If I'm under the bottom, it tends to slide out easier. This is just me from doing it a bunch. So I come in this way at the bottom. And when you come in at the bottom, you remember, you're always, this is just in my pea brain, the way I learned it when I was first doing this. Didn't have anybody to tell me, so I just figured it out. I'm coming at the bottom of the return blade. That's my long swing blade. That's where I insert the duck bills. It's got that cross pattern in there for the duck bill to go in. So like I was saying before, right, if you come in this way, instead of coming in that way, what you run into is now that blade's all the way open. I don't have room to come up to get it up off of there. I'm hitting that blade. So first you'll have to get everything else off. So now I come in and I just hook them that way. But if you do it pre-test like I do now and just hook them up, it's no big deal. Okay, so hook them up like that, but I'm just telling you, when you get ready to take them off, remember the handle is going to be right in your way when you get ready to move it up to get it off this way. You can slide it off a lot easier this way, whether you put them on pre-test or not, because like I said now, I always put them on every time. I'm going to get in good habits, don't get in bad habits, all right? So for me to keep it in my pea brain, I knew I had to get around the handle because that handle is going to be opened up, right, for my duck bill to go in. So I've got the handle open. So what happens is I'm coming in at the bottom of that return. I'm always dealing with that handle. If I was over on the other side, remember it's a short stroke on the shunt blade. So I wouldn't have to deal with the handle if I was putting it on that side. So at the bottom connection, I'm at the bottom of my return. Then on that same phase, I'm going to come up here and I'm going to go at the top of the shunt blade because I'm staying on the same phase, critical. I'm staying on the same phase, and I'm just jumpering and making a jumper across this because I'm going to leave the shunt blade open when I get ready to start doing my test because I'm driving the current. I'm driving it with the duck bill. And remember, it's in the white and out the black, or out the black in the white. So when you're driving, that's what you're doing. When you're just reading and you're just sensing the current in there, it comes in the white at the top, goes to the test kit, and back through the black and completes the circuit through the duckbill. But when I'm actually driving current, I'm going to drive out the black at the bottom, and Jonathan will point there. I'm driving at the bottom where the black is right there, at the bottom of the duckbill. I'm driving at the bottom on the black, and these are separated electrically right here. I've got a layer of insulation there. So the black and the white part of this are separated, and that's how I get these two wires, so I get an in and out flow. Because when I insert these to read, I'm literally just getting in series with the same current that that meter's seeing. So I'm just completing the circuit, but I loop through the test kit so I can read it, right? So it comes in, goes through the test kit, and back out. Now when I'm driving like we're doing now, because I'm not doing a customer load test now I'm doing a phantom load test, and I'm driving. So I'm going to drive out the bottom. Let me get my gloves on here real quick. So I'm going to drive down here at the bottom where he's got this gray jumper, right? This easy hook. So when it hits there, when that black bottom of that duckbill, when I drive there, the current goes from here, it goes up to the top, and that's at the top of my shunt, which is the entry right into the meter, right? So I drive my current, it hits here, jumps over the open shunt blade I've got open right there, it jumps over that opening and goes into the meter, and what happens when it comes back down, it hits the top, which is the white, which goes back to my load box. So in essence, I'm going out of the load box, I'm going into the meter, then back out of the meter, back to the load box. The CTs are taken out of it. We leave those shunt blades open when we're doing a phantom load test, because I'm not getting my current from the CTs anymore. I'm getting them from the load box. Okay? Oh, you need, my bad. So now you get to watch him connect them.
Well, this one's tricky because I put that neutral up there, so I'm actually going to catch it right there on the neutral blade instead of down there on it. I will come up and use the hole on the top. You can see on this one, like John was talking about, go with the hook up, just slide it in there and hook it in.
Perfect. So now we're using the load box in the test kit to drive the current through here to do the test, because remember when we looked earlier, Jonathan saw I got nothing, I got no movement on my bar going across, so it's 0, and then the machine also showed 0. So I got no current from the load here, so I'm having to provide the load. So that's why they call it a phantom load. It's not really here, it's in that load box. So, so we're all keyed up, ready to go. We've got all of our connections made. Remember, with this 4S, I'm connected on both of my voltages A and B, but it's going to use B as a reference. So that's when we look at the vectors, it's going to say VAB on there, okay? But like I said, pre-test, and we'll talk about that some more moving forward, is a lot of the pre-test stuff I keep showing people out in the field. When I'm looking at it pre-test, I can toggle and look at things. I can look at my primary current versus my secondary current on my vectors. I also have connect view, which shows me if I hit connect view, it's going to show me a B phase voltage. I will connect to it, but on the inside the meter uses it as a reference. That's why my actual vector shows VAB. So it just shows the one voltage. So it shows one, but I'm connected on both. And you can use connect view to help you out in the field to say, oh wait, I actually should be connected on that. Because sometimes you think, I just don't connect B. No, that's not going to work for you. You need to have the B phase voltage connected on it, okay? And so normally it'll say one voltage and two currents, which it is, but connect view will tell you, you actually do have to have B phase connected and use it as a reference, okay? So we're going to go ahead and get one in the can here in a minute for the let's see, for the 20, that'll be for the 11th, right?
The one we're about to do is for the 21st, and then the one on the 11th should be live.
Oh, cool. The one on the 11th will be live. My bad. That's why JP has to keep me straight all the time. Okay, so the 21st is one we're going to put in the can right now, and then the 11th we will do live. And we may have a couple of guest stars, right, JP?
What I've been heard.
It sounds like we might. So we may have 2 guest stars on the one on the 11th. So I'll have 2 other fellows with me on this, and we'll do kind of a round table-ish, maybe bring up we could bring up one of the crazy ones I just ran into and some little short things and talk about it. But anyway, hopefully there'll be 2 guest stars on the one on the 11th live, and that'll be a live one. But thank y'all so much. I won't see y'all before Christmas again. I'll do this one. I'll say something else in that one, obviously. But please travel safely and hug all your loved ones. Don't take anything for granted. And God bless y'all. We just appreciate your support that you continue to give us here at Powermetrix. And we really, really, really appreciate all those folks out there. And thank you so much for being part of the Powermetrix Nation. Thank y'all. Appreciate it. Bye.